still like, because I've got to vote. Brad's already in Arizona. I'm going down tomorrow night.
Support that.
It's only 110 there.
Oh.
Hey, Nicole.
Good
Awesome.
job.
Welcome, welcome.
You're always welcome. A happy, cheery, smiling
Okay,
face.
tell me, I'm gonna put it in my phone so I'll forget. When is your next meeting? Please and thank
It's the first Monday of each month at
July
7.
So it'd be
7th.
Park.
7th? Yeah. I just heard.
You what?
Which I'm fine with. Not interested, so.
Might be reduced.
I know. I said,
What time would he do it?
that's fine, and then I'll come after. I mean, I don't mind doing that. Well, it's also.
Ooh.
I know. It's really hard right now. Carving kitchen space, especially on Saturday, and I can see that.
So not do it at the city celebration?
Oh, for like,
Oh, prepping.
but I just said.
I think we can all rationalize service on Sundays.
Oh my, okay.
Service on the dam. Service on the...
No, not that.
Are you talking about
Cutting the cabbage.
How are you?
cabbage?
Good. How are you?
The people that just
Good.
John, Drew, Kate. Yeah, I don't
I
mind
think there'll be
doing
enough people who are willing.
it. Yeah. Let's just do it on Sunday.
I do worry about asking the youth council though on a
Oh,
Sunday.
well.
I don't want to ask them on a Sunday,
You don't want to ask her?
the youth council.
Oh, yeah. Because they would feel compelled, and you don't want to compel them to do that.
And I don't want to put their parents in a tough spot.
This must be the developer for that piece that we're gonna rezone.
Or maybe he's got a computer. No, I was gonna say we'll get done before 9. I'll take you out to Cold Stone for your birthday. And I was going to say we should invite our husbands to come down, but maybe we should just take Nicole.
We could take Nicole. Yeah, my husband is on Swiss time, so
Oh, so he's in bed.
he may or may not be awake. He's asleep right now. He'd happily run away if he's awake.
Switzerland is 8 hours difference.
For the last 2 weeks, he's been working from like midnight to like 10 in the morning. And then trying to figure out how to function.
In Iceland, the sun went down at 11:30 at night. Never really got very dark. The sun came back up at 3. I was reading a book in a glassed-in room with a glass ceiling at
Well,
midnight.
I see you
with no
threw your
light.
hat name in the ring for another go-around, huh?
Close to that. She told me the sun's going down. about
There you go.
half at 4.
See what happens.
And it's pretty awful in the winter. We're after 6.
Does it start?
6:01.
Okay. Good evening. Welcome to the Providence City Council meeting, Wednesday, June 18th, 2025. I'm Mayor Kathleen Alder. Welcome to all of you that are here this evening. We have Jeff Nebeker and Brent Speth, Janelle Seeley, Carrie Kirk, and we should have one more. I haven't heard from him, so I'm sure he's just a minute late. So, but we still have a quorum, so we're going to go ahead and get going. So, I will lead you in the Pledge of Allegiance, so if you will stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Aren't we blessed to be able to say that? That's the freedoms we have in this country are awesome. So let's start with the council reports. Carrie,
Sure.
let me start with you.
Okay. So first, I wanted to thank the Planning Commission for their efforts. Serving on the Planning Commission is a hard and a thankless job, and I want to apologize for not showing appreciation for their efforts at last council meeting. And the intent of my comment was to have them to encourage like reflection and remind the commission of the magnitude of their positions. I believe that everyone who is serving in Providence City has the best of intentions, and so I just want to publicly thank the Planning Commission for doing that difficult job.
Thank you.
We had our final youth council activity for last school year's youth council, and it was a dance a couple of weeks ago, and I'm just always so impressed with the youth who show up to plan those activities, and their execution is awesome. This coming year we'll start in July, and we have 45 youth grades 8 through 12 who have signed up, which is up 12 from last year, which was up 12 from the year before.
Contrast that to the first year that you did it. I think you had maybe 10.
Yeah, it's growing and it's exciting, and the youth are anxious to serve. With that many, I'll need to come up with some more service projects to give them opportunities to be useful. So if anyone has any ideas, that will be something that I'll be looking for. So a couple other things I've been doing. You may have seen the purchase of possible purchase of a park property on the agenda tonight. And so I've been working with the Highlands HOA board to help them understand what might be coming. I've also been in contact with the Nibley city officials on the potential of the South Cache Valley Rec Center. There's a few other things on my list, but I'll just leave it at that.
Jill,
Do you want to go back to David, or
I'll come back to him.
Okay.
He needs to catch his breath.
I have mostly been working on fiber since our last meeting. I went to a conference called Fiber Connect with some of the city staff, and we learned a lot of things about, I think, just ways to enhance the experience that our residents have on our fiber system. And everybody that we talk to and tell that we have 70% take rate in the city is just like shocked. And we're like, but we want 100%. And they're really all thrilled for us that we have, over 70%. So our fiber system's doing really well, but we learned a few more things, ways that we can improve that and enhance that. And then just responding to emails and different things with different residents. So that's my report.
Thank you. Brent?
Ryan and I attended the Recreation Special Service District Information Workshop in Nibley. The concept was to put together a recreation area with some indoor, outdoor recreation facilities. It is proposed that the cities in the South End come together, perhaps, and also some of the rural areas, to fund the project. The discussion was about 3 ways to deal with the funding. One of those might be private funding. Each city council would have to be on board, and the community would have to be also on board to support that. It was a very informative meeting. I learned quite a bit there regarding the project, and it's something that we'll probably have to address coming up in the future. I also represented Providence at the river cutting for the new IHC East Logan Clinic in Suites X and Y on 14th North, and this will give that area more access to health coverage, including mental health. Thirdly, I've been working with Ryan to see if somehow in the budget could support some pedestrian lights at the roundabout. Thanks to Ryan for his great working with the budget, this might be possible. So we'll look at that. Ryan and Carrie and I also met with them on the proposed property purchase in the Highlands and the Grandview area. I had some reservations about this purchase because of the terrain of the land. We walked the property, and thanks to good assistance, I was able to get up the hill, down the hill, so that worked out well. And thanks to Carrie and Ryan, I made it. Anyway, as now, and also the owner developer has indicated that he would shape the property. I think it'll be important to have a park plan so the land is rough shape that will, in the rough shaping that will be done, will be of most beneficial use to the city. And so I believe this now land does have potential. I've also been in contact with our stake, the Providence stake, with a brother Robinson about canyon cleanup. And Ryan, has he talked to you about that at all?
I did receive a communication from him, and I think there's ways that we can help him. So,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Anyway, so I kind of pass that on to you a little bit, but I do what I can to help. That's my report.
Thank you. I think in the past, Josh Polson.
Nope,
Kind
I
of-
did it.
Oh, you did it?
Josh said he would, but he never
Carrie
did it.
did it, yes.
Okay,
And we've talked.
Yeah. Carrie's
great.
a good resource.
Yes, yes.
I checked in with Cache County School District or Brittany Foster, but they either don't have information for me or they've checked out for the summer for a bit. So nothing there. Quite a few emails about lights and sound in our city. And so I checked in with Ryan on that. And I think it gets really complicated when you start adding more and more laws to lights and sound and everything. So my recommendation is to just talk to your neighbors and keep the peace with them. I know some people have bright flashing lights, but maybe you can just talk to your neighbors. And I had my lights on till 1:15 a.m. the other night doing my irrigation. It was like so I hope I wasn't bothering my neighbors because I was,
If you talk to them, they'll tell you.
yeah. They walk around the block, we talk, so.
Knock on the door about 1 o'clock. That's bothering.
Is that bothering you? Yeah, so, yeah, if it is, I'll have to change my irrigation time, but, other than that, sauerkraut days, I would love to, we kind of talked a little bit about that, but I wasn't sure if I got the full on go ahead with the takeover painting sidewalks or not, but I'd love to participate in that. And anyway, we can talk more about that later. Just let me know. I'd love to help out. So
Well, when we get to that
yeah,
spot.
and that's
Okay,
all I have.
great. David,
Thank you. Sorry for
You
being
have your
late.
hall
I
pass?
apologize. Ran up the stairs and caught my breath. So
Yeah.
Thanks for the break. I also met with Ryan, had that opportunity just yesterday. We went over most of the agenda items. Well, I think we made it through all of them actually, and some additional things. I have not gotten the light and sound emails. We talked about some of that, but I don't know the full background. So somebody will catch me up, I think, eventually for that or forward to me, maybe. Have responded to some other emails I got, and I got the one about the canyon cleanup that you forwarded to me, as well as we have another youth group that's volunteered to do some canyon cleanup through Just Serve. That one, I think, is always sort of a need for that. People go up and shoot, and there's always shells or there's cans left over, and I think that's a
Or
good.
couches, beds.
Or
there-
bigger things.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
it
I've,
is, there's always
I've seen it all.
opportunity
Well,
to clean it up.
so yeah, there'll be more things, and I think especially throughout the summer, as things sort of accumulate. That's a good one just to sort of continually keep up, I think. So we have some other people volunteering to paint the cattle corral basketball court.
Oh, yeah.
That hasn't settled exactly on when exactly that will happen, but hopefully in the next month or a couple weeks even. And we have some other paint projects in process. Mosquito abatement is up and running, no incidents. Last year, there were a couple of truck accidents and an incident where a resident tried to run an abatement truck off the road. That didn't end very happily. So hopefully this year's a little more settled than last, but they've got some new equipment, some new four-wheelers, new spray equipment and drones. So hopefully that'll keep mosquitoes to a minimum this year and we'll not get bit. I've been bit already, probably most people. If you've been outside, it's happening now. So I think that's really my report.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. My big news is that Chick-fil-A is opening tomorrow. So we hope that you'll all go support it. They won't be open for breakfast tomorrow, but they will be open for lunch. And we're all excited to have them here. I went around and talked with every business that's in the shopping center and talked with them about any problems that they might see. And they were all excited. They were all willing to be able to have Chick-fil-A there, but they realized that there's going to be some inconvenience for their customers. But they were all very positive about it. So it's nice. And tonight they did a soft opening for 1 hour and they did okay. The lines were moving okay, not as fast as they normally, but that's the first time they fired up the grills. So he was telling us tonight that Chick-fil-A uses a lot of AI. And at any given time, they know how many sandwiches to pre-make because they'll be sold within 5 minutes. And so the demographics and information that he has available to him is pretty incredible. So anyway, please support Chick-fil-A because they're going to have a big 12-foot cow, not a real one, just a blow-up one. And they're going to have a big hot air balloon and they'll be out there to help everybody. So please come and support them. We've had chamber meetings. The summer citizens kicked off. We've got nearly 600 summer citizens that come here from some of the warmer states. And they just love coming to Cache Valley. They come and they stay for 2 to 3 months. They spend a lot of money here, millions of dollars actually. They go out to eat and support the plays and the entertainment that we have here in the valley. So when you see, I think are they green shirts this year? Anyway, it says Summer Citizens on them. And they say hello to them, be friendly to them because we like them to come. Because then they go home and they don't put kids in school. They don't do any of those kinds of things, but they are taking advantage of all the wonderful things that we have here in Cache Valley. I serve as chair of the Land Conservation Board for the state, and we had a meeting recently, and we have $1 million to spend on that, which is just a drop in the bucket for the land that we need to conserve. But Cache County has, they just conserved 3 properties so far, but they have upwards of $20 million here in Cache Valley. So to preserve land. Also, the Utah League of Cities and Towns is meeting with the legislature, and they've had meetings to keep us updated on what's going on with the legislature and the kinds of things that affect us as a city and as citizens. So it's important that we stay in touch with them, and we understand what they're helping us to either keep in the legislature or keep out of the legislature. So, with that, let's move ahead with the minutes. So
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of May 21st, 2025.
okay, we have a motion
I'll second it.
and a second. Any comments? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. So we always allow our citizens to comment publicly. We'll give you 3 minutes to talk about something that maybe isn't on the agenda but is within the purview of what the council would handle. So if you have an agenda item and we'll be speaking at that point, then we'll give you time then. So if we have someone that would like to speak.
Nice to see you all again. I'm George Wooten. I live at 210 South Main Street, right down the street. I'm gonna. Sorry.
He said George.
Oh,
George Wooten. And I live right down the street. All right.
we couldn't
Sorry.
hear very well. The mic was up a little bit.
Oh,
but
I'm
that's
sorry.
okay.
Is
Oh,
this
there you
okay?
go.
Can
It's better,
No,
much
okay,
better.
Got it. I sent you all emails about this, and I appreciate the feedback from the council and the mayor that I got on this. On June 1st, there were flyers that were distributed around. They were thrown on people's lawns. They were from an organization called the Aryan Freedom Network with the website whitepower.org. Several of the flyers said it's okay to be white and straight pride, and so when I went to that website, I saw that there are lots of pictures of Nazi swastikas. There are people carrying Nazi flags. There's a happy birthday message to Adolf Hitler. There is this posted on their website. So this is a group that is affiliated with the Nazi movement that is distributing these flyers in our neighborhood. The intent of these flyers is twofold. First, to shame and intimidate people who don't fit their image of who should live in America. The second is to motivate and empower people who share their feelings and get people to join their movement. To me, and I hope to you, this action of littering, this threatening material is both unacceptable and unwelcome in our community. This is not an isolated event. There are some other events, as I kind of spelled out in the emails that I sent to you all this past week. I live here in Providence because of the people here. I have wonderful and supportive neighbors. A couple of them are here tonight. Thanks for being here, participating in our government, which I really appreciate. My children have gone to school here and they've thrived here. I feel safe walking the streets. I enjoy being able to contribute to the city and the quality of life of all the people that live here. But these acts of intimidation and hatred greatly threaten our sense of community, and especially anyone who is not white and not a traditional Utahn. These actions should not be tolerated by anybody, especially those in leadership. Acts like this are open attacks on tolerance and acceptance. They are an attack on our community's health, wellness, and kindness. And the research is clear that hate thrives in silence and escalates when not called out. I bring this to your attention because as leadership as leaders in the community, people look to you for guidance. Community members are asking how best to respond to this form of hate speech. I encourage the City Council to speak out against this and all acts of intolerance in our community. Although all residents have the right to believe what they want, they do not have the right to take actions that intimidate, shame, and hurt others. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, George.
George is wonderful and is a very active participant in many wonderful things in the city. Well, I wasn't really fully planning on saying a whole ton, but we have some new people here tonight that get to hear about Sauerkraut Days. Sauerkraut Days is August 11th through the 16th, And our main events are the 15th and 16th. And I really wanted to put something, I wanted to emphasize this for all citizens to get involved with, nominating a grand marshal for this year. There are just so many incredible citizens here in Providence that really deserve a chance to be nominated and seen for their years and years of generosity to the city. And we would like to hear from the community. So here in this audience, you guys, it's just to go to the city website. There's a link there to email the Providence Sauerkraut Days Committee. I'll see all those, and I can't wait to hear your nominations for that. And I wanted to answer any of your questions as far as Sauerkraut Days. And Jeff, yes.
I said paint the sidewalks. I meant sidewalk chalk
I was
contest.
like painting the
Yeah, not
sidewalk.
paint. I meant
I
chalk.
don't have that planned,
Chalk.
but
Chalk.
okay.
You have chalk on there?
I did. In fact, that's
Okay.
something that we were kind of
That's what I
tossing
meant.
around. And is that something that you, hey, I am all for it.
Okay.
That's still
Well,
kind of
it's
in the
up
works.
to you. Just let me know
Yeah.
if you want me to take that ball and run with it.
Mm,
You can
okay.
think about it.
I will. That's,
Okay.
thank you. Thank you very much. As far as the Sauerkraut Days, the cutting goes, we tentatively have the weekend of the 4th through the 6th planned. Or, well, I'm sorry, not July 4th. It's the 5th and 6th, possibly. I know that's a busy time for everyone, but possibly getting some participants to help with that would be great. I know that's everybody's like, that's the holiday weekend, but if you are willing to do that, contact me. That would be great. And if not, then we will be doing a second batch or even the labeling process. That's a whole new that we didn't mention last month. We'll be putting labels on all the bottles to save money cost-wise that way as well the week before. So like the weekend of 2nd through the 4th time frame before Sauerkraut Days. And I'll get more information about that.
Just pick a date and do it, and then
Yeah.
and we'll recruit and get people to come.
Okay. Okay. So, and then as far as, I wanted to kind of talk about the skate park just a little bit. We have a full committee with that directive. Skate shop here in Logan is completely taken that over. So they are, it's in fact, the sign up, everything is through directive, and they are thrilled to be able to sponsor that and do all the prizes for that and everything. So I will be going around next week with a letter to all of our businesses here in Providence, but that's something that maybe you guys could help as council members. When you're at a business or anything here in Providence, if you can advertise or just say that we'd love to have sponsors for our Sauerkraut Day celebration and lead them to either the city website or my information is on there as well, and try and get people to either sponsor something from their business or anything.
So if you
Or-
can get us a letter that says a
Absolutely.
sponsorship costs this much for this, and this is what you get for a sponsorship,
Yes. Yes.
then that's something that we can give to people.
We have the letter ready.
Okay.
So Megan has the letter here at the city, and I could even email that to all of you as well. But I will be going out on foot in the next week just to deliver letters and stuff. So
Good.
If you split up the list and give us specific ones, we can just.
like
I
you'd
love-
want to
I love
help.
that. I love an assignment.
Oh, Janelle. Okay, you're on it. You can join me.
Do those ones.
Okay, awesome. Living Tree Medical is gladly doing our medical portion of that as well, being our sponsor for that. So they're on board and just excited.
And right now our major sponsor is
Yes, next
Next
meters.
Meter.
Mm-hmm. And they are happy to do that again this year. And the drone show is going to be even bigger and better this year. So, and we've added the Prov's Got Talent. We'll have music going all weekend long with various bands, and so we'll have live music. And one of our citizens here in Providence, Derek Clausen, is phenomenal, and he'll be in charge of all the sound that weekend as well. So going to be great. So again, get your nominations in for Grand Marshal. I know all of you know amazing people here in Providence, so
So everybody's on the hook to send it in, right?
And we still always need volunteers for the, so
Yeah.
any of you, that would be great.
Great. Thanks, Nicole.
Thank
Awesome
you.
job. We appreciate the things that you do for the city to bring us all together. Anyone else? Okay, we'll close that portion of the meeting. We'll go to item number 2, fiscal year. What does the E stand for? Year end.
Fiscal year end. So that's,
Okay.
that ends June 30th.
2025 budget adjustment public hearing. So Ryan, I'll let you take that portion of it.
Yep. So at this point, we have various business units. So we have our general fund, our capital projects fund, which is where a lot of our major construction is, and then we have water, sewer, storm, secondary water, garbage, and fiber. So we have 6 different business units. At this point, this is a true up year end. We've had some items that went over in revenue and a few that went over in expense. In total, and each department, so in total, we have exceeded revenue more than expense. So, for instance, in our general fund, we have to add some to the revenue, those that we're adding to the expense. So we still have a balanced budget, which is what we're expect in our general fund. So there's no net increase in dollar amount, but there is a revenue increases and expense increases to true up some of the expenses we've had this year. Then the transfers, obviously they tie out. We did have a few other ones. I just point out the water. In water, we did have an overrun in some expenses due to some unforeseen items, namely a few more water leaks. And so we've had labor associated with that. We had to have a company come in and repave that road. And so we did have some there. And ultimately, our revenue over expense adjustment, we're increasing revenue by $398,200 over our increase in expenses. So as a citywide, we are increasing. We've done and brought in more revenue. Some of that's some of the expenses are due to grants, associated expenses. So anyway, that is the adjustment. We generally don't do a lot of these, but the last year our auditor really recommended that we kind of true it up. And so from a recommendation from our auditor, they wanted us to go through this exercise and true up each of the different accounts that are under. So that's what we're doing. So anyway.
Okay, this is a public hearing, so if there's anyone that has anything to say, any questions to ask, this would be the time on the fiscal year end budget. Okay, not having any comments, we'll move to item number 3. This is the final budget public hearing. We'll take comments and questions from the public regarding the city's fiscal year 2026 final budgets. So this has been open for 30 days, and there have been just a few comments we've had.
Yep, I've received a few comments. Brent brought up one about being able to put some budget in this year so that we could work on seeing if we can't get lights at the roundabout. Interestingly, we do have cameras that are recording what's happening there now, and we do have counts, traffic and pedestrian counts. So we're working on seeing that. We feel that's a help in understanding which direction and what we're going to do there. So as we've added that, that is one. We didn't expect an opportunity to buy park property this year. We had it budgeted last year. We are moving that money into this year to be able to do that. And we did get our bids back for the chip seal work we want to accomplish, a little higher than we had initially expected, so we're making a modification for that. There were a few other grammatical changes that we made. In the previous budget, it referenced the water tank, and we're actually building a water well house instead of the tank. Anyway, somebody found that grammar error, and we're appreciative of that. Anyway, we can go down through it. We have been through it. Can go to anything or answer any questions. And again, I remind, I came as an Excel junkie before. This is a Word, more of a written budget, and tried to do a narrative. So if you like it, then I'm happy for that. If you don't care, then we'll see which way we propose next year. But the same information.
If you don't care, then don't make any comments.
Yeah, I did successfully keep it under 65 pages, and I was really happy about that. So, but
So are we.
yeah, I'm kind of a budget junkie, and so this is kind of my time. Any questions, I'm happy to answer them. So anyway, we can go down any of that, but we have been through a lot of this, and a lot of it is renewed each year. We talk about our accomplishments over the last year, over the last 5 years. We talk about the organizational chart. Anybody that would like to read this or go over it, whether it's now or whether it's in the future, if you have a desire to look at that, I'm happy to help go through
This
it.
is a prep
So-
for the next year's budget, if you'd like to
Yeah. So if
kind
you
of
want
keep
to,
that in mind.
yeah, and I'm open to other ideas. I just want to be able to have this open, and so I'm trying to have it as detailed or information as people want. So anyway,
Ryan, thank you. Again, this is public hearing. This has been open. And as Ryan said, we've made a few changes, but they were mostly cosmetic, nothing substantive. So anyone like to make any comment? Come up here.
yes,
Oh.
correct.
So do you know how to get the budget? Or excuse me, not the budget, but the agenda? Yes. It's hooked to the agenda. So it's just a clickable link and you can get that.
Right here on the budget. Show right there.
Okay, so not having any other comments, we'll move to item number 4. This is the elective and statutory officers compensation public hearing. This is a bill that was passed in the legislature last year. And we're required to have a separate public hearing for the compensation of our officers and elected officials. So Ryan?
Yeah, at this point, what I've listed here is kind of expected and actual hours worked over the prior year, and then showing what the ranges, what the rates have been. Basically, this is these two are the columns most critical. We are expecting a 2.5% COLA, and asking for a 2.5% merit. And at that point, that's what makes the 5%. Because this published before, I did get some comment to maybe separate those out. I will do that for future time. At this point, that was what it was. The proposed amount of change. We have a salary survey done. The last one, we post that in here so that you can see the ranges and how that compares with the peers. These are statewide, not just valley-wide. So it is more representative of a large market throughout it instead of our localized market. And so that's what it is. We present it every year, and so we're looking. I took the cost of living from the CPI at about 2.1 to 2.5. So I took the council on the low end because lots of times they don't take it. So I just took it on the low end, and the mid range with a merit for the staff side. So anyway, that's what I propose. Happy to take any discussion any way you'd like. So
Okay. Again, this is public hearing, so if there's any comment, anyone would like to make, questions they'd like to ask. Moving right along. We'll close, not having any any takers to comment? We'll go to item number 5. This is the municipality broadband, cable TV, and public transportation services public hearing. This again is something that's required by the legislature for us to call out separately how we're handling this. And so Ryan, you want to give any information that you have for this group?
Yeah. So, do it here.
This is something we're going to vote on tonight. All of these things that were public items, we're going to vote on them during the resolution and ordinances. But right now it's the public hearing portion of it.
So what they've done is, because if any city owns fiber, any municipal owned fiber, the legislature has asked us to produce a report that shows our tier of service, our previous price and our current price, and then subscriptions previous year, current year, and out 10 years. I actually have a crystal ball in my office if anybody wants to use or see it. But I will tell you that 10 years out, very fuzzy. I cannot get a clear, so I can't guarantee what's out there 10 years. But that's what they're asking for. And it's coverage, amount of business, and total subscribers, and then kind of the revenue and where we expect the expenses to be. And you can see after revenue and expenses, we have enough that's paying our bonds. And so we're paying our expenses, our bonds, building some reserve cash, and hope to retire our bonds early and be able to all the money that is collected over and above the cost stays in the city, stays in this fund to be able to develop either future fiber or lower rates in the future, or improve services. And then they ask, the state asks us to specifically answer certain questions. We have had no service delinquency. We've had no non-payment. We have no unscheduled reserve fund draws, no adverse opinions, no credit report changes, credit rating changes, no bond calls, no tender offers. Anyway, they ask us specifically to answer those questions, so we have. And so this is a report. I think we're probably the first ones to actually do the report, because we're trying to be ahead. It's not, it's anticipated that lots of them will do it in November or whatever, but we say, hey, you know what? We'll include it in our budget. That's where we're looking at these numbers. And so that's where we're at. Currently, just as a subscriber, we have 1,829 current subscribers to the network, which is phenomenal. So that is a today record. So we had a slight dip there for a little bit. That's come back over the summer, and we are currently at the highest number of subscribers that we've had. So we're doing pretty well. So we're excited.
Awesome.
Anyway.
These were things that we imagined in our crystal ball when we put this all together, and it's come true. So you might want to ask Ryan if you can use his crystal ball. So far, it's worked really well.
Do you have a little seance you go through before you do that?
I don't share that, but I will share the crystal ball. If you have your own seance,
Okay.
I think that's probably up to you.
Okay, so again, it's public hearing. Any comments? There are a lot of crickets in here tonight. We're not getting any comments.
Crank through this meeting.
We are. It's like, go team, go.
It's good to see a fullish room, though.
Yes.
We're glad you're here.
It really is. We're always glad to see people in here. Okay,
E-
so.
Even if they didn't come for the budget, but that's okay. I'm glad they're here.
You just did such a good job of explaining everything. They've read every word and totally understand what you did. Oh, Jeff's got a question.
Can I ask about the fiber on the utility bill? And if we're going to erase that off?
It's off.
It was on my last bill, but
I'll check on yours, but it's
Just
off.
a joke on me, probably. You're
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
Put
probably.
on
It's only
his.
staying on
I-
yours.
Leave
I
it
think
on
we just left
his,
it on
but
yours.
take it off
just-
everyone else's.
But I think it's off everybody else's as of the June
But
bill.
I'm happy for
So,
the success.
Yeah, it should be off.
Well, if you have fiber, you are still going to get a bill.
Yeah, you're not connected though.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, it should be off. If it's not, let us know and we'll look
Okay.
into it.
No,
But yeah, it's supposed to be off.
I was gonna say.
I was
I
going to
have it.
ask
We'll,
for the
we'll
crystal
double check
ball,
yours,
but I won't.
yours specifically. But
Yeah, but
Yeah. Okay. So let's now move to the resolutions and ordinances. So we have to vote tonight on certified tax rates. So Ryan, if you'll explain that. Then
I
we'll-
would be happy to.
This is another spreadsheet thing.
Well, it is. And if anybody ever wants to actually go through this formula, I am a nerd here. I was trained by the State Tax Commission on how the property tax formulas work when I was employed there. And so I'm happy to go through the depths of it. I've never had anybody take me up on that offer in the 10 years I've been offering that. But if anybody wants to,
And we're not taking you up on it tonight.
but this one, the basic thing is, the certified tax rate is calculated by prior year property tax revenue divided by current year's valuation expectation. So what it gives us, if you adopt the certified tax rate, we will collect the same property tax from the current residents as we did last year. The rate will change because valuations go up, but we'll get the same revenue. So the valuation goes up, the rate goes down, but we maintain the same property tax revenue from the current residents. Now, because there will be new residents and new growth, we get more tax revenue coming in from them. But as if you adopt the certified tax rate, then the tax is the same for the people that have been here. That now, if one individual's house goes up higher in value than their neighbor, they may see a tax change for them. So there might be individual changes that way, but as a whole, adopting the certified tax rate gives us the property tax we collected last year plus growth. So you can choose to go with that rate, which is the recommendation. You can go lower, which would be a property tax decrease, or you can go higher, which is a property tax increase, which would require us to go through truth and taxation. So if you go higher, then we would need to wait on the final budget because then we'd have to go through truth and taxation before we had
Adopt the budget.
adopted that. My recommendation is to maintain at the certified tax rate, collect the same property tax as before. That's where the budget is based on. And then we have some potential growth as we have businesses come in that are new established businesses, Chick-fil-A, for example, Blackstone. Some of those that will come in, we'll get the property tax from them. And we grow our property tax through that method rather than raising it on the current residents. So that's my proposal.
Okay. So we need to vote on this. So I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion, and I don't think we want to decrease it, and I don't think we want to go through the process of increasing it. So in my opinion, I'd like to propose that we accept the certified tax rate, accept resolution 04-2025.
Okay.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, item number 7. This is what we just talked about, the budget adjustments that need to be made for the fiscal year end 2025. So I will accept a motion on that item.
I'll make a motion that we accept the budget adjustments in resolution 03-2025 as presented.
Okay, we have a motion
I'll second.
and a second. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries.
I think it's fair to say that we aren't having a lot of discussion because we've done so much homework on this. So we've had all of our questions answered. We've individually met with Ryan. We've gone line by line. We've emailed. We've talked. So it's not like we're just haphazardly voting in favor of these things. Like it's because of hours of homework.
I agree.
And we appreciate the work that Ryan's put into this to help all of us understand, because it is not a simple process. Okay, so we're on item number 9, right?
8.
8.
This is the fiscal year end 2026 final budget. So we need an approval, or we need a motion on this one.
I'll make a motion that we approve item number 8, ordinance 03/2025, the 2026 final budget.
Is that the same number that was on 7?
No, that was 7 was 2025.
resolution.
One's an ordinance, yeah.
Sorry.
And this does include the presented compensation adjustments, I assume, because that's what's presented in the budget. So I just want to make sure that that's called out, that is we're
Perfect.
Because that's
This is
what's
ordinance,
required.
yeah, so.
Okay, so we have a motion
I'll second it.
and a second. Further discussion? All in favor?
Sorry, I was gonna. So the compensation schedule is
it's included in this budget.
part of this, and I don't know why I always struggle with that.
If you, what's that? You want it, if you can have it
Yeah, I
motioned
don't-
differently, but at this point, if you want it different, you may want to have a modification to
motion.
the resolution, but it is included. I just want to call that out, that
Right.
that's included in this, because it's included with a budget number. So
Okay.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed?
I
You're
was
opposed?
gonna say, I
Or do you
I
have
didn't realize they were
discussion?
combined initially, so
Okay,
required a little extra thought for a second. So
okay, so you're aye for it.
It was a long
Wanna
Or
aye.
you want to,
I'll say aye
okay,
for it.
so you're not voting no, you're voting yes. Okay. All right, any opposed? All in, motion carries. Okay, so item number 9. This is ordinance 04-2025 Timberbrook rezone. City Council will review, discuss, and may take action on ordinance that rezones parcels 02-096-0048 located in the general area of 314 West, 100 South, Providence, Utah, from agriculture to R1-6. Planning Commission held a public hearing on June 11th, and recommended that the City Council approve the rezone as requested. So, Scarlett, is this one yours?
The public hearing was held on this, like you said, in the Planning Commission. And we reviewed the staff report there. The staff report has been online with the Planning Commission, and it's been online with this agenda. So I'm not going to go through the entire staff report. I will be happy to answer any questions, though. I will tell you that when we look at a rezone, we look at state code. We make sure that it complies with state code. We make sure that it complies with city code. We also look at our general plan and our master plans to make sure that it's going to fit in there. When a rezone packet comes in, we ask them to discuss any sensitive areas. This parcel does not have any sensitive areas. It does have what is called a source protection zone because it's near a well, but housing is a permitted use within that area, so it will be fine. We also look at the uses, and for usually when I do the comparison charts that are included at the end of the report, I usually compare the existing zone with the new zone requested. However, the existing zone is ag, and it doesn't make a lot of sense to compare that with R16. So what I did is I compared it with R112, which is the zone that most people are familiar with. If you look at the use charts and the area charts, most of the things in the use chart are very much the same. There's a couple of things in R16 that they can't do. One of them is large animals. So even though their lot sizes would be big enough, if it's built the way the developer would like to, even though lot sizes may be big enough to normally meet the standard for large animals, because it is in an R16 zone, they will not be eligible for large animals. The differences between our common zone, which is an R112, the minimum lot size is 12,000 square feet. In the R16, the minimum lot size is 6,000. The minimum lot width in the R112 is 95 feet, and the minimum lot width, both of these widths are measured at the setback in case you have irregular shaped lots, like for cul-de-sacs or things like that. So the minimum lot width in the R16 is 60 feet. In the R112, you can have 3.75, so roughly 4 units per acre. In the R16, you get 5.5 units per net acre. And we look at the infrastructure, and if there's any park dedication or anything like that, that comes out of the area that they can utilize towards not any infrastructure, excuse me, any right-of-way, public right-of-way, and any type of park donation. That would come out of the gross acreage that they base their density on. So those numbers are fairly true as to what you can plan on ending up with. The setbacks are a little bit different. The front yard is 20 feet on both of them. Side yards on an R112 are 10. Side yards in an R16 is 7.5. Street side yards in an R112 is 20. A street side yard in an R16 is 15. And then the rear yards are both 15. So I'm not going to go through all of these. Those are just kind of the major things that are different that everybody wants to ask about. There are parks in this area. There's a park right next to it, in fact, adjacent to it. There's a park across the street. It fronts 100 South. The road that goes through this development is shown as a local road on our transportation plan and on our general plan. So we have planned to be able to have a through road to connect 300 South and 100 South. This road goes into a T in 100 South, and right across the street from it is our parking lot for Zollinger Parks, the Thompson Fields that will be developed shortly. It's in close proximity to Spring Creek Middle School, so it's right near our sidewalk that goes around the park. When we get our Thompson Field Park plans done, we anticipate that we will be able to connect that sidewalk or the parking lot with the trail sidewalk that exists in Zollinger Park now. So it's a pretty multimodal area, or it can be. So, but that's the report. You saw in the ordinance that Ty has prepared that the Planning Commission recommended approval of zoning parcel 02-096-0048 from agriculture to R16 based on the findings and facts and conclusions of law as found in the staff report. So, and there were, I believe, all present voted in favor of that motion. So,
Okay.
that's it.
We have a developer here. Do you want to come and say your piece? Tell us your name and
Dallin Tolman is my name. It's great to be here, and I appreciate the opportunity.
you might have to move that up just a little bit.
All right, is that better? Dallin Tolman. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. Do you mind pulling up that presentation for me, please? I apologize if this is repetitive. There's a few people here that have probably heard this now a few times, but I do think that it is important, in part by way of introduction to us as a business. We're here local, and then also just a little bit more context on why we're going for the zone that we are and some of our intentions with this parcel. A little bit about Timberbrook Homes. We're local here. I grew up in Young Ward. My wife's actually from Providence. We love it here. It's a beautiful location. We build homes here in Cache County and in Box Elder County. Really our objective with this particular parcel is our business model as a whole. We are doing our best to help people get into affordable but quality homes. It's getting harder and harder to accomplish that goal in today's market. A lot of people are getting lower quality, or they're trying to get into something that they afford, and usually they're not not mutually exclusive. They just don't work well together in today's market. You progress to the next slide, please. This is where that parcel is. It's, as Scarlett mentioned, it's right across from the fields next to Spring Creek Middle School. It would connect with 325 there on the back side, and that road is planned to just run straight through. Next slide, please. That parcel is also right there next to the townhomes. It's about 200 or so feet away from the corner of the multifamily district there. Like I said, we do focus on doing nicer yet affordable homes. Mainly the ways that we go about doing that, we provide homes. Often, most of our homes are single level. Not all of them, but a lot of our floor plans are single level to appeal to a broader market. We have a lot of first-time home buyers, a lot of young families, but we also have a lot of elderly, a lot of people who are looking for a step-free alternative. They don't necessarily want to live in a 55 plus, but it's a great fit for them also. Really, anybody works well.
So is this a slab on grade?
Yes, we do plan on that.
Okay.
I do know that basements are allowed, so we do sometimes have clients come in before the process that request certain features. So that's a possibility, but currently we're planning on slab on grade.
Okay.
We do a lot of things like fireplaces. We do custom finishes, custom cabinetry. We're not your typical cookie cutter. At least we don't feel like we are. That's our business. Why R16 is probably the question that's on everybody's mind.
Sorry.
You're just fine. The R16 accomplishes a couple things for this development. One of the challenges with this particular parcel is it's very wide. If we run a road right down the middle, which is really our only option, then the depth of our lots with the frontage requirements on R112 or R110 are pretty difficult to make into an affordable home. We're ending up with half-acre lots, very large lots that just don't make a lot of sense, that just can't pencil. This R16 allows us to have very efficient lots, have smaller frontage, but most of our lot sizes are still over 10,000 feet, at least our intended lots. And it allows us to do an affordable product that's not multifamily. It doesn't go vertical. We're not doing big buildings. It's a great alternative for those that are looking for that price point. The R16 allows us to do that just because the frontage requirements, although we do still plan to have nice size lots. And next slide, please. And so we do plan on, in the top corner, there is an existing home. We do plan on leaving that home existing. That frontage is up onto 100 South. That home is planned to stay, and it's going to stay because of the frontage or because of the setback requirements. It's about a half-acre lot that's going to sit on. The rest of them will be sectored off more or less as shown. And obviously, we do plan on having everything per code and ordinances in the city to that zone. And then if there are any questions, I've got my contact information here on the last slide. Feel free to reach out, text, email, anything. And then if there are any questions right now, I'm more than happy to answer what I can at this point.
I have to tell you, I love the connectivity, the fact that it connects to another road and people can come through. I don't envision a lot of traffic coming through there, but yet the option is there. You don't have to go down and around to get someplace. So I do love that connectivity.
Question? When you're talking about the frontage, are you talking about the lot width or the setback?
The lot width. Yeah.
And so you want the 60-foot rather than 95 or whatever what's the R110 do?
R110's
Somewhere in the
80.
middle. 80?
80. Yeah, and the 60 is the minimum. The lot is not exactly divisible by 60 feet. So chances are we're going to end up somewhere, once the survey's completed, around 65 is what we're seeing right now. But yes, that's what we're going for.
So it's kind of in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak? I will allow that. Oh, I can't. I'm sorry. I couldn't see you.
My name's Nate Worthen. I live here in Providence. Just a few thoughts on the rezone. On page 1 of the rezone analysis, you'll see that the general plan proposed zone is R112. The requested zone, of course, is R16 because of the width. One of the concerns that I have about the proposed zoning, the applicant in their presentation says that this creates an ideal transition zone from the RM18 property, just a couple hundred feet from the property. While RM18 does exist to the west, immediately west is R110, immediately east is R112. And if you look at an aerial map, you'll see that the lots to the east are very large lots. It would be unusual to go from R112 to, which is 12,000 square foot minimum lots, to 6,000 square foot minimum lots, although they are potentially platted for 10,000 square feet, and then back to 10,000 square foot minimum lot size. That density it doesn't transition well. It's not gradual. It's not congruent with the city's general plan, of which many of you participated in 2020, even on the Planning Commission. Mayor Alder, thank you for your work on that. One of the things that we do value in the city is various housing opportunities. And so the applicants made the argument that these will be more affordable. And I think that's probably true. We have places in our city where affordable, high density, and medium density housing plans are allowed. So I just encourage us to encourage applicants to build higher density housing in those areas of the city as opposed to here where R112 is recommended by the general plan. Lastly, R16, I think the applicant intends to do detached housing, but R16 does allow attached housing. And if they were to, potentially acquire more land, I don't know that permitted use would be appropriate here. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Reese Peterson, Little for South.
How are you?
Things have changed in about 30 years, haven't they, Brent?
They sure have.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm not against them guys doing what they're doing. All I'm just concerned about is I would like a little, maybe even an 8 or 8 for lots, a little bigger. But I'll have to disagree with you on the traffic. The road's really busy already, so it's gonna dump a lot more cars in there, and they go fast. I know Rex and Tammy are not moving because they don't like the place. One of the reasons is too is there's a lot of, it's almost a danger zone. People come down that road, when they come through the circle, they just hammer past our houses, and I mean, they go fast. So that's something I want you to look at too, if you would please. Post it, police there or something, but I know it's impossible.
It's a problem all over the city.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's
Yeah.
probably not the only place.
And we are doing everything that we can. That people are not paying attention, and they are going fast.
I just hope somebody don't get hurt.
Yeah,
Like
we do
say,
too.
You talked about kids, there's gonna be a lot of kids down there, and there already is a lot of kids down there now. So it's kind of a danger zone, but anyway, little larger lot to an 8 would even be better for us, we would think, for the area. But anyway, other than that, like I say, just a safety factor here.
Thank you, Reese.
Thanks.
My name's Eric John. I just wanted to address a couple
Sorry
of those
again,
concerns.
Eric.
Eric John. Yeah.
John. Okay.
Just a couple of those concerns that were raised before. So I am in real estate, and so that's the side that I would kind of like to address as far as we see lots of people, young and old, but especially first-time home buyers who either first-time home buyers that don't want to live in a condo, or even a second-time home buyer who still just doesn't have a large budget. What is being proposed does fill that big gap, allowing those families to be able to make a transition. There's lots of young families who grew up in the valley who, especially cities like Millville, Providence, River Heights, desirable areas that there's not much of a foothold for them to be able to end up in those areas, especially if they don't want to be in like a condo. So obviously the condos and the multi-living situations help them do that. But anyone that doesn't want to live in that, they want a single family residence, this would allow them to be able to make that next step as they transition into a desirable area. So I do think that helps the city and helps fulfill that step. So where, there are the condos and townhouses a few blocks away, this is kind of a transitional spot where they can get into a home. And I think that is ideal that they're able to do the 6 zoning.
R16.
Yeah, the R16, where they're still planning on doing the over 10,000 square feet. So I kind of think it's a win-win. So just that.
Great. Thank you. Any other comments?
Hi, I'm Jill Griffin Peterson, third generation Providenceite. It's way different now than it used to be.
Yeah.
Right, Brent?
It is.
Anyway, it was different 30 years ago. Love
was
my
different
neighbors.
10 years ago.
Huh?
It was
What?
different 10 years ago.
Yes, 10 years ago. 5.
50 years ago.
Yeah. Keep going. But anyway, like my neighbors, don't like problems. Always wanted to fit in. Like to get along. But I know that if it was me, no one in this room would go for this size of lots. And I know you guys understand what I'm talking about. We went through a lot to get what we got. And everybody up our street has decent sized homes, decent sized lots. Over to the south, same. North. Not trying to stop these guys from moving on. I don't know why I'm actually kind of shocked. But I would just love to see a little bit bigger lots. I don't think it's a lot to ask for what's already there. You know, even below us, I don't think that should have been there. I think there was homes north and south, well, south of there that were homes, not townhouses. So it could have been maybe more west, but that kind of slid in really easy. But I just want to vent what I feel, and this is my chance.
It is your chance.
And that's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, any other comments? Okay. Questions?
I just wondered, Scarlett, if you could address ADUs with a lot. I mean, I did my rough measurements on the parcel viewer. I think these are 150-ish feet deep. So what are accessory dwelling units something that would
Be allowed?
fit here?
Yes,
Like detached, I mean.
because an accessory dwelling unit, the maximum lot size is 1,200 square feet. And then they have to meet the 15 feet. There has to be 15 feet of separation between the primary residence and the accessory dwelling unit. And then there has to be 15 feet in the back. But with the depth that we're talking, unless they choose to sit the principal structure right in the middle of the lot, which may make it difficult to have an ADU either towards the front or towards the back. So a lot of it would depend on the placement of the principal structure. But if they put the principal structure fairly close to the 20-foot front yard setback, they should be able to include a detached ADU. And of course, any home can include a interior ADU. So yes, there's definitely the potential for ADUs in this area.
So you have to have a minimum of 12,000 square feet to put another residential unit.
ADU is 1,200 square.
Oh, that's how
Yeah.
big the unit has to be, is at least 1,200
No,
square feet.
that's the maximum. So an ADU could be as small as 600 or 700 square feet, but most of the ones that have come in have been really close to between 1,000 to 1,200 square feet. So not very big, but not tiny.
So for those that might not know that, ADU is an additional dwelling unit that would be a separate building from the home.
And just to let you know, internal ADUs, Providence City had approved both internal ADUs and detached ADUs, which means it's a little house all on its own. The internal ADUs are permitted by state code. So we had permitted them before state code changed, but a few years ago, the internal ADUs state code put it in there that we have to allow ADUs. If we were our neighbors to the north, because of the college, they still have to allow them in most of their zones, but there are a couple places where in most of their single family zones, but there are a couple places where they don't need to. But we're pretty much in a position where we have to allow them as long as the buildings will fit. And we always check it to make sure for fire safety and things like that, to make sure that we're in a positive situation, not a negative.
Thank you.
Additional questions?
Can I ask that one? Sorry. I like asking questions.
We all know that.
I know. So, and maybe I just found it in the use chart. R18 and R110 allow attached, like twin homes, but R16 does not. Is that correct?
I don't have the use chart in front of me, but that could be I'd have to look. You know,
That
to
it's
tell you the
minimum
truth.
lot area per, no? Maybe I'm reading that wrong.
I don't have the complete use chart. I'm not saying I might not have made a typo in this one, but I tried to make sure I had everything.
I was just trying to verify the comment that was made that attached homes are allowed in an R16.
In the back page in the chart in the analysis. So if you look at single family attached are allowed in an R16.
Permitted in R110, R18, and R16.
But duplexes are not. Because a dwelling 2-family, a dwelling 3-family, a dwelling 4-family, they are not allowed. So you could have you could have a twin home.
Which means they have the difference, I think, that people say a duplex is that you have 2 units attached on the same lot. Whereas a twin home, they share a lot line, so they don't have setbacks on their interior structure. They have a 0 lot line between them. So that's a technical difference.
Generally, a duplex is a single owner for the 2 units, and a twin home is a single owner for each of the units.
Right. Yeah, different lots.
Are we having discussion too, or just questions?
Yeah, no.
So so rezones like this give me heartburn because I have a formula for approving a rezone, and it's 3-part. Number 1, the planning commission's recommendation, and I always weigh that heavily. But I've talked with some members of the planning commission, and I'm not sure that they were considering all of the angles. There was no public comment for them. And so where they didn't see any negative feedback, they were like, well, then if no one sees anything wrong with this. But they gave us a recommendation to approve it. But then the other 2 parts of my formula are the general plan, and I weigh that equally to the planning commission. And if those 2 things come in as both thumbs up, I'm like, okay, this is easy, no heartburn. But then the third part of the formula is adjacent zoning. And I just cannot swallow unless someone can give me, sure, it would be nice for the developer to have more narrow lots, but I just can't swallow 2 of the 3 things in the formula being thumbs down. So I personally would need a different zone in order to vote in favor of a change.
Okay. Other comments? Brent?
They talked about time, how much time has passed from the time we zoned them to large lots down there, but it always was a transition zone from the commercial area, higher density, less density, moving into these other lots. And at the time, a lot of those lots were established. They were large lots. Irrigation water, had plenty of irrigation water. Everybody wanted a large lot until they found out how long it took to go around it with a lawnmower, because they don't have a tractor and they don't have any equipment. And then they started thinking, what did I buy? What have I really bought here? And I realize that back in the years, and I was involved when all that zoning went down, but times have changed. And the opportunity for a person to own a home that sits on its own lot is not 12,000 square feet anymore in Providence because the land is too expensive. It's not available. And I think we have to consider the change in times that we're dealing with at the present time. So I would like to ask, is there irrigation water that's going to go with these lots?
That's a great question.
State your name again. Just
Dallin Tolman. That's a great question. It's my understanding. I have somewhat limited understanding of the irrigation water in Lower Providence. It's my understanding that secondary water is provided in the majority of Providence. That's something that we would review with the engineer at the time of the subdivision. I'm not familiar enough with that to give a concrete answer at this point. If it's something that's required and that is assumed, then we absolutely do plan on putting that in.
How many shares do you have, Rex?
8.
8. How many lots are we talking?
Somewhere, depending on where the survey comes back, about 18 to 20.
So how many hours do you get per share?
Much as takes the water while I'm on the field.
So you're on the field stream? Okay, so you're not on allotted time at all.
Are you at the end of the line right there? Are you at the end of the line right there?
Oh, they're not.
Sorta.
Ballpark, yeah.
Okay.
You're on the end of the line?
Okay.
Okay. And you get as much water as you want. You know, if you're talking a 12,000 square foot lot and you're going to keep it green, it takes quite a bit of water. It takes about the same amount of water for a 6,000 square foot lot. You'll have a few more homes, but you still got to deal with that. I am concerned about if we talk 12,000 square foot lots, I just think this is an opportunity for people to have a lot, separate lot, and still be able to have a single family dwelling. I see a valuable desire here for some people to want to have that. We don't have that anywhere in Providence. Anytime you get to the west, other than Reese's, is a higher density. And you know, Reese, you're not getting any younger. What are you going to do with your property? You know, how many? How many acres do you have, Reese? 2, yeah. And you know, and there might be a person come along that buy your 2 acres and enjoy it, have the large animal rights and stuff like that. But it's getting less and less, those number of people that will come in and do that. But it still could happen. Don't take me wrong. It still could happen. I kind of see it having some value. I look at the lots east of there. They have a large lot running to the west, clear down to the east border of your property there, Rex. And I don't know what they do with them. I don't know. Do they run horses in them? How do they take care of them? What do they do? Do they take care of them? Just grow up the grass?
Mow it once a year.
Mow it once a year. I think the dream of having a large lot in Providence is not a great dream anymore. The maintenance, the watering, the care, and the taxes, as all plays into a factor of you know, what do I do with this large property? I kind of see this as having some value of going down to the smaller lots where people might be more apt to have a riding lawnmower to go around, 6,000 square feet versus 12,000 square feet, because that's what it's going to be. People are going to be on a riding lawnmower. They're not going to be, you can't run large animals. Maybe you could on a 12,000 square foot lot, but the neighbors say, I can't wait to move to Providence. It's rural. And they look over their fence and say, geez, that's wonderful, but why do I have horses in my backyard? Why do I have a calf over there? The rural, that transition, it's changing. So I have a feeling that this might not be such a bad idea, and we haven't looked at that plan of 12,000 square foot lots for a long time, because they're coming non-existent a little bit in Providence. My thoughts.
Brent, what about just going up to the 8,000, the R18? So not clear up to 12, but it's adjacent to 12s and 10s. What about making it a transition? So it's more of a compromise.
A lawnmower could take care of the extra 2,000 square feet. Yeah. I don't have a problem with that, but I think the smaller lots has more.
I agree.
Have a market than the 12,000 square foot lot.
I just want to be fair to the neighbors that are in large lots and create a transition.
If I may, really quickly, one thing I'd like to just point out again or reiterate, and first of all, I do appreciate everybody's comments and concerns. I know if I was a neighbor, I'd probably be up here too. One thing to reiterate is the R16, it would be impossible for us to put 6,000 foot lots on this parcel. The R16, it sounds scary, and I do know that it can have it has a different feel than R110 and R112, but these lots are nearly the exact same size as the lots that are on that street. That's as small as we can make them with the width of the lot. Mainly the purpose of the R16 is not for a small lot, even though it does help it to be more efficient. The purpose on this is so that we can have reasonable size lots because of the frontage requirements of the zones. Also, we've been talking a little bit about the general plan. I know that it does say on the general plan recommendation that is R112. In the conclusions on the staff report, page 6.7, if you could pull that up really quickly, I think it's a good illustration of the framework map.
Tell me which page you said.
Page 6.
The analysis.
So this is on the staff report. It's
Can I just ask a quick question?
Sure.
Have you calculated the number of lot difference between an R16, an R18, R110, and R112? Have you done that math?
We did right at the very beginning when
Okay.
we were offering. I don't remember off the top of my head, but it was enough that it wouldn't pencil. We just couldn't make it work.
I think. Anyway, I'll let you finish this one. But I think the between the R16 and the R18, because you're talking 65-foot frontage, you're a one lot loss between a R16 and R18 because you already got the rest of the square footage. So we're talking basically one lot difference because you have 70-foot frontage instead of the 65 that pencils out.
That could be the case. Just what I remember when we did the analysis was to make them affordable, to make it work for us, and I think for really anybody. I feel like us being small, we were allowed to take a little bit more concession on these things than some of the bigger guys. That's one of the things that gives us an edge in the market, is we're able to do some things a little bit less, cookie cutter. Most people would not be able to do this, but when we did the analysis, it kind of had to be R16 or it wouldn't work super well for us. But what my point I was getting to here on this 0.7, Scarlett explained it in the Planning Commission. On the framework map here, there's a lot of ambiguity. It's somewhat vague. We have the Providence City Core, which is an area for mixed use and higher density attached housing. The mixture of uses can be in a horizontal or vertical format, residential or office above retail, residential above office. Regional examples include the Sugar House Business District. My screen's kind of fuzzy. Soda Row and Daybreak and Lehigh Main Street. Right there within the Providence City core, which is circled, is right here on our proposed parcel. It's also mixed use nodes, are these little dotted line circles. Small collection of retail and service uses focuses on a corner or single block. Really, this illustrates that while it has been mentioned that R112 is the proposed zone here, it does show that this is still Providence City core. It almost calls out for some retail, some business space, which I don't think personally that it fits very well here. I think that an argument could be made towards that, or an argument could be made also for multifamily housing. Like I said, I think that this is a great opportunity to downsize and take it to single family, and then still have those large lots on smaller frontage.
The issue here is frontage.
Yes.
Well, the governor has charged all of us, developers and cities, with building some homes that are affordable for young people and for people who are trying to get into a home. I for one, well, I've just spent some time in Denmark, and in Denmark and Europe, they know how to do multifamily housing. If they had not gone to multifamily housing, there would not be an inch of space in those countries. But they have beautiful countrysides because they have done multifamily housing and they've done it well. It's expensive to live in those countries. There's no way that they could afford to have a 12,000 square foot lot and put a home on it. I have a former exchange student that lived with me 30 years ago, and we go to visit him. And he lives in a very small apartment in a co-op building. He paid $3 million to be in a co-op in this building. So it's very expensive. And it would be nice if we could look at a development like this and say, you know what, we understand that we're moving toward not having open space. And maybe this is a way to let people, I mean, I don't know about you, but when I drive past a lot, I could no more tell you how wide that lot is than fly to the moon. Or how big, how many square feet that lot is. And I think we're talking about semantics here with how big a lot might be, and let's reduce it by one lot. Well, how about if we look at what we're doing for Providence and people who would like to own a home? That's how you build wealth, is to own real estate, to own a home. But those pieces that people can own now happen to be smaller. So, again, the governor has challenged us all to look at building homes that people can get into and begin to build wealth. Otherwise, everybody has to rent and not build anything at all. And I don't know about you, but I want my kids to be able to build. Well, it's grandkids now because all my kids are on their way. But I think it's good for us as a population to say what is good for the city, what's good for the citizens that want to live here with us. And it's still going to be expensive. I mean, you used to be able to get into a home for under $100,000, but that doesn't exist anymore. You can't even rent an apartment. So I think looking at the greater good is important. So for whatever that's worth. So additional comments?
What's the price range on these homes?
Market will dictate. We don't know exactly. The majority of the homes that we've sold this year have been under 450.
Which is nuts.
Slab on grade at 450.
Yes.
How many square feet are you talking about in a home?
Anywhere from 15 to 2,000 is typical for us.
I think if anybody goes out and looks at the market, that's what you're going to find. It's just the market. It has nothing to do with how much it costs you to build the house. It has to do with the market. I bought a house on Main Street a few years ago. It cost $14,000 to build that home. I paid over $250,000 for that. So,
And now it's probably worth 500.
oh, I'm sure. So it's the market that drives that. So, anyway, additional comments.
I did some of my figuring,
Mathematics.
my mathematics. I'm not a civil engineer, so I won't claim that I figured exactly what it would be. But if you take out a 66-foot right of way out of a 6.15 acre lot, which I think is what the parcel viewer says that the current property is, and then divided that by 150 feet deep on each side, roughly, the minimum lot size you can get with the minimum width of 60 feet is a 9,000 square foot lot. And with a minimum at R18 is 70, and that's 10,400 square feet lot. So they're not ever going to get to 6,000, but the difference between, and then this, this is just me, I'm not a civil engineer. I figured you'd get 21 lots at R18 and 24 at R16. So about a 3-lot difference.
As long as there aren't some other anomalies. That
Unless
have to be-
there's some, I don't know how the irrigation ditch figures into all of that and the easements and
Well,
all
one of
those
the lots
things.
is going to be 12,000.
Yes, and one of
But
the lots
one of
is,
the, where the existing home is going
Right.
to be bigger,
Right.
right? Yeah, so that would probably reduce it a little bit.
yeah, by our figuring, there is some discrepancy between the deed and the GIS. And so we
Okay.
have to do a survey to figure out exactly how much we're actually going to be able to get out. But 18, 19, it was kind of in that range,
20.
not including the home. So 18 to 20 roughly were the numbers that we were coming up with when we were doing our concepts.
I think as far as areas where we've seen like R16, I think Brookside is R16. And I was actually trying to dig through, did we approve the final phases of Vineyard as R16 or R18? Can't remember. R16. I know some of the concerns that some of the residents had were just that you couldn't fit a 3-car garage on an R16, that parking becomes an issue. So I think that, to me, I feel like might be an issue. But you're allowed to go with the setbacks, but based on the feedback we've got from other residents, pushing the homes farther back in a narrow lot, providing more driveway length probably would alleviate some of those issues. But that's just a recommendation because that's not how the code's written. So.
But if a person can't have a 3-car garage, they can't have a 3-car garage. They go someplace else to buy.
Or they park on the street,
What's
The
that?
problem.
which is a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Well, again, the problem's cars, not the size of lots. And that's the issue, is how many cars do we all need? I know, look around my house.
That's a question for you.
Yeah.
That's the pot calling the kettle black.
I
Or
think,
or for me that has 3 young adults, and teenagers. So, we have at least 5 cars, but it's one for each person.
I'll probably have them parking in the backyard pretty quick.
I mean, I live in R16 in Brookside. We have, and as the neighborhood's grown and as kids have grown up and businesses have started, we have food trucks, we have trailers. They're all on the street. There's cars spilling out onto the street. You have trailers lined up on one side, cars on the other, right against yield signs that you cannot see as you come up to them. And it is a big problem. But and you ask, how many cars do you need? Well, are we going to make an ordinance to limit the number of vehicles you can purchase?
No.
Probably not.
Street parking
So
ordinance.
we'll have to do a street
We
parking
do have
ordinance, but
and we
that's
have
gonna-
an ordinance person. So
Yeah.
if there's a problem, we,
But if you reduce it
I'm not
to
complaining and saying that
8,000,
someone should
is
come
it
to my
going to make
neighborhood,
that
but-
much difference?
it's not,
but
it's not that much bigger.
yeah, that's what I'm saying is, I mean, 8,000 gets you, sounds like one lot less, so that's
Or
still
3.
or 1 to 3, and that's still going to be probably a parking issue unless you
It's like the speeding
build
issue.
those further back and give longer driveways and that
We
kind
have
of
to
thing.
ask people to be responsible.
Yeah.
Sometimes we have to give them a ticket and then they're responsible. But it is an issue, but I think even if you can have those same kind of problems with an R112. Depends on how many people are there and how many people have cars. And is yours 112?
I don't know, actually.
It is. Okay. Further questions?
I know at the last meeting, I made a zoning recommendation that the applicant wasn't thrilled with. Do we need to weigh in what the applicant's opinion is, or just approve or deny?
Well, I think his
or
opinion
modify?
is R16, like that's what he wants.
Would you prefer that we just approve or deny what you've asked for, or make a recommendation that we're comfortable with?
I think under the current circumstances, like I said with our analysis, that it doesn't make a whole lot of sense any other way for us. We are taking pretty tight margins on this with, like I said, is what we're able to do as a smaller business. Mostly just to give ourselves as a business some runway with our homes, which is hard to do. Land is impossible to find and there's a huge demand for it. So I think that R16, just losing that one lot, I mean, that's significant because our infrastructure cost does not go down. The road cost does not go down. In fact, they're steadily going up. That's part of the reason why affordability is so difficult. One lot difference would probably sink the ship, so to speak. So I guess to answer your question, I think that we'd probably have to do approve or deny on the current request.
I just personally feel like I don't like high density either. If I don't like it enough, I'm heading to Idaho somewhere. But I just feel like he's going to create a good opportunity for a lot of people on this street. I suppose some people on the street may hate their new neighbors for a little bit until they get to know them. There'll be young families maybe, or people who are trying to downsize. I think they'll just add to that community there, and whoever's on that street you're going to end up loving the people who move in, unless they're renters. And I don't know how you not get renters, and you make sure you get young families and
But you might like the
downsizers.
renters
Do you know what?
too.
I like the renters too.
I bet you
Okay,
there's
but I'm
not
just
one
saying-
person in here that hasn't been a renter.
Right. Yeah, we all have. And I just think he's going to create something great, and to give him that flexibility, will just help him with his process that he's familiar with. So that's my opinion. I can make a motion. We can vote if we want to.
Yeah, I'll entertain a motion. Thank you.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we accept the ordinance 04-2025 Timberbrook rezone to rezone that property from ag. That's ag, right?
Yes.
AGR to R-1-6.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Those
I feel torn about it because I know they can't get anything close to 6,000 square feet. Like, I know that's not even possible with the width of the lot as it stands.
I actually feel super torn about it too, because I like what you're presenting, but once we rezone something, it can go to anyone, you know, like it doesn't have to be you and what you're promising. And we've been bit in the butt by that before.
Okay, but let me ask again. Those in favor?
Again, you want us to vote?
Yep.
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
So that's it, right? That's it.
No,
That's a
Janelle
tie.
has to
That's
vote.
Have to
2-2.
vote.
Vote.
Well,
Technically, you've
technically
called your
you
ayes,
called your ayes and you called your nays, so
and you
it's a
haven't had a
tie.
majority on the ayes.
So if the
it
motion
doesn't
failed.
pass, it fails. So at that point, you've called your ayes. When you called your nays, you had 2 nays. If you have one that doesn't vote or abstains or doesn't vote with the negative, then the technicality would be going back to a new motion. So you've called your ayes and you've called your nays.
Okay,
So that would be the technicality.
so it's a tie.
A tie, which would technically could go to you. The technicality would go to you.
Okay.
Unless you want to take the motion and revote it, but technicality would go to you. Unless she's a no, and then it dies.
Okay, so I'm still on the nose, right?
You haven't accepted the motion.
Okay.
It's a choice.
So I can be a tiebreaker if you're not going to vote.
I know. I think it's just so hard because we've had so much feedback from R16. But I know it's not going to be the same as what we have, so it's really flexibility for the developer. But the width issue, I mean, Dave he lives with it. Like, he knows exactly what it is, and it's the same feedback that we get from all of our residents.
They hate
Nay.
So the motion fails. Vote 3-2. So, I guess that's it.
Can I ask a question?
You have to come up.
Would they be allowed?
No. State your name.
It's for the record.
Yes, Eric John.
And there are people online.
Okay, so if you're hung up on the square feet and they're already pushing almost to the 12,000 square feet, they're over the 10,000. Would there be a way for the city or you or whoever, however that needs to happen, would there be a way to get an allowance on and to have a smaller frontage? Because I think the problem is that everyone's worried about R6 when it's not. I mean, it is for the frontage, but it's not for the square feet. So these lots are much bigger than the ones that you're worried about having problems. So if that is like the hinge point here, is there some way to do R10, but give a variance on like to a specific developer for specific frontages so that he can actually still do something with it? Or
Well, I'm
Brian?
going to take a professional answer to that there is an avenue at which someone can propose a code change to change the frontage requirement. So at that point, you can propose a code amendment that would allow a change in the frontage requirement to allow a single one isolated. Now, depending on how that code's worded, it may be able to be worded so that it only applies to certain isolated ones. But at that point, to get it just to a single one would become arbitrary and capricious, which would be violating the rules of law. So we wouldn't recommend to do that. But a code amendment written craftily could reduce the number that it might apply to, but any that a fit to that application would be able to qualify under that. So if they wanted to go a code amendment application process, that could be something. So that would be the avenue in which a resolution to frontage could be done. Because if frontage is the problem and you're fine with the square footage, but the problem is frontage and that isn't the issue, then changing the frontage requirement may or may not be appropriate depending on how you research and look at that. But that would be the avenue in which I would say that is a possible remedy to that. Does that make sense?
I'm not sure. So yes or no?
So the answer to your specific question is no.
To a specific person. You're saying change the whole code.
Correct. Because no, you can't do it.
We
for a
have to
specific
follow our
person.
code.
Mhm.
It's the law.
Yeah, it's like he wants an R110 with the width 60, right?
Which could be a code amendment change, and if it was changed, then you could come back with that application and you could reconsider.
So the lot's larger, but they can work with the width.
Yeah, so you're saying that they could do a code amendment that would, from then on, would allow R10 to have a smaller frontage.
That would be what they could apply.
lots.
They could apply for. Obviously, the governing body would determine whether they allow that code amendment, but they could apply for that code amendment. We have application methods to apply for something like that. So,
But that process will take some time.
Yeah.
yes.
If it goes at all.
Yeah.
Like going in front of a jury. You're not sure what the outcome will be.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
point of order. So it's done. We're done with this item.
Yeah, the next agenda item would be the
So
appropriate.
it'll have to come back
You would have to have
in
a new
another
application.
format.
Yeah, it would have to have a new application for it to resurface because that application has been complete.
Okay. All right. We'll go on to item number 10. Purchase of park property from Providence Highlands LLC. The City Council will review, discuss, and may take action on the purchase of property for the purpose of building a park on the proposed lot 101 of Providence Highlands Phase 5.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, at this point, we have visited with the developer that's in this area. They are developing a significant amount of property on the south bench.
the approximate address.
The approximate address would be 1000 South and Grandview Drive.
Okay.
So it's this lot 101 that we're looking at. And
Cursor on it.
yeah, it's there. Just the cursor doesn't show up very well.
Blue.
So it's blue. It's the
Oh,
blue hashed
okay.
line.
All right.
3.25 acres. And we have a contract amount. But this is the lot in which we're looking that the amount would be. The sales agreement, I'll pull it up. So we're looking at 550,000 to purchase that piece of land, and there are some conditions. Let's see if I can get to the 6 conditions. They acknowledge that the Plat 5 has been received and final approval, so they're starting on. So this is part of Plat 5 or Phase 5. So Phase 5 is the blue hashed, and these lots to the north of that. So that is Phase 5. So that is agreed that Phase 5. Buyer continued upon the recording. So we would purchase when Phase 5 is recorded. So we're going to wait until that is. Likely that will be in January. So we'll agree to purchase now, but likely we'll close in January when Phase 5 has either had its improvements and done. And so at that point, that is what the second condition. The buyer and seller grant an easement. So he's developing to the east and may need a storm drain line easement to go to the storm drain that's there. So that's what that one is. We'll work together on where that placement is, and they would agree to restore any disturbance to that easement if that happens. The other one that is kind of a new condition that we've had is the option to purchase additional pieces of the property. So if I come back here, the seller is offering that an option to purchase. So it'll give us 13 months from the time of closing to be able to purchase these if we choose to. And that is one here to give access to the deer fence trail. One here to give access to kind of what the HOA park already there is, and the additional expansion of what that park is currently, or up above behind underneath the power lines here, also the 107. So each one of those are potential additional purchase options. And so this agreement would give us the ability to purchase those. Between you and me, I don't see that the need for the 107 is as big of a need. The others are potentially good expansion spots for me. But the 107 is probably not as attractive in my mind. But it gives us the opportunity to purchase an option so that and the 13 months, I asked for the 13 months. So from January, if we close in January, from 13 months for that will give us 2 opportunities to apply for grants for either the land water conservation grant or other potential grants to help pay for that property. So if we can acquire grant money to help, then that might be the reason why we would purchase expansion property if we can acquire that. The other one is the 107. The condition 107 is on 5. And then condition 6 gives us the ability that, gives the seller the ability that if we decide not to take the option to purchase, they can choose to donate the property at the agreed purchase price. They could receive that, and I think it's plus 15% above that. So that would be if we say, no, we don't want to take and do our option, then they get to donate it at a kind of a 15% above our potential purchase price. For tax purposes, they could contribute it and use that valuation. So that's a good thing for us. If we choose not to take the option, they could choose to donate. There is some other things about grading. And I think as I talked to Brent, I think it would be wise to add a condition that would allow us to have some discussion or adjustments to the grading plan if we could get a grading plan and work jointly on what that grading plan would look like. So I think that was kind of what we talked about. So
that it was a good plan for both of us.
Yeah. And I think the seller wants it to be a park. He realizes that's our desire. That's his desire. He's building around there, and wants to have a place for those residents to be able to come to. And honestly, a lot of this, well, all of the purchase price money now will come out of impact fees, and as he develops, a lot of that money will come back from his impact fees to pay back into that. So it's a payment out of impact fees paid before, and we'll see a return of some of that impact fee as he develops. So that's kind of what's there. This is the sale purchase that we talked about in our closed session last time. So this is the reference that we had. I've gone back, negotiated this based on that information, and then as a public hearing, we come procedurally. If you accept with the condition there, if it's not a change in purchase price, that's to be done openly. If it's a discussion that you have about the purchase price, then we would go back to a closed session, discuss that, and then come back into an open session to make the motion. So if purchase price isn't the discussion item, then that all happens here. Any other discussion other than purchase price would be an open. But purchase price would go into close, talk about it, and then come back.
Would purchase price also include option premium potentially being applied toward purchase price if we do not exercise the option, or if we do exercise?
If we exercise the option, I believe it does apply to the purchase price if we exercise the option, but we obviously lose it if we don't exercise the option. So, and there's the first tentative grading plan that we talked about, and then we'd probably want to have some input into some others. We have a balance between how much we get involved into the grading of the property before we actually purchase. So I don't want to get ahead of you and start to engineer it before you're ready that you want to purchase it. So if you want to purchase it and you go ahead and tell me that, let's make sure we have a better grading plan, I'm happy to do that. If you don't want to move forward, we don't want to spend the engineering to go in that depth. So anyway.
If we agree to purchase tonight, then he doesn't want his money till January.
It's likely, yes.
So have we purchased it?
Yes, because we've gotten to do a contract to purchase it. We haven't expended the money to purchase it, but we've entered a contract to purchase it, which, yeah.
So at this point in time, would we have some input on the grading?
We certainly can. If you add that as a condition that you want, that as a condition that we can approve that in the process.
Having walked the land, I certainly would like to see us have some input on the grading of it.
Sure.
Because it's pretty rough terrain right now.
Right now it is.
Yeah. One other thing I thought you said, and I could be wrong, but in order to obtain grants, it can't be part of a subdivision?
No, it can. It can. In order to acquire the grants, it takes time. It's more of a time issue. It can be part of a subdivision. That's fine. It can't be a developed park. Nobody will give us funds for a developed park that's already there. So we're not going to be able to get grant funds to buy the HOA park. That won't happen. Because they don't pay for existing. They want new parks to be created, or new amenities to be created. So with the purchase options, that gives us time. So basically that gives us, roughly 18 months to be able to have 2 funding cycles in order to go and get potential funding for the option purchase. or for the, if we buy the option to be able to get those properties, we'd have two application timeframes where that 18 months would be.
So when you talk about the HOA park, are you talking about the park to the far south that's already existing? That, and I understand we wouldn't look for funds for that.
Right.
Okay, but
That's correct. It's this that he doesn't own. It's the piece to the west of this red hashed here.
yeah,
It's the piece that he doesn't own. But if the HOA came to us and wanted to sell us a piece, because it's already an existing park,
oh, it's the
Grant-
HOA that wants to sell it to you.
if that's, yeah, that's another side from this one. But if the HOA were to want to come to sell us their side, we couldn't go to get grants for it.
Okay, I understand.
That makes sense.
But we could get grants for this larger parcel that's adjacent to the street that goes up there, where it's the red hashed and, for parking if we needed it.
Right.
Say.
I believe the red hashed could be, we could go after grants to purchase the red hashed items.
And the one you said you're less interested in is the one that's got the drainage easement down through it.
No, there would be a drainage easement through the 101, but he would, the seller would restore the property, and we would have a ability to determine which one it is. Because he hasn't developed the phases up here, there is a possibility that he may need to have a drainage come down through to drain into it. There is that chance. Now, I don't know whether it will be there, but he wants to preserve that possibility that he could take some of the property up above to come down through to that retention pond. That's what he's asking.
Well, that would even make it more imperative that we have the grading of our park in place and him know what he's doing for a drainage easement, because the last thing we want to have to do is relocate a drainage easement because we want to change the grading of our park.
Right.
Unless he wants to come over and come down near the street.
And that may be what we need. We would have input on that one, and that's part of one of those conditions. We would be able to approve where that drainage, where that easement is, and he would restore it back to what we have before he does it. So I don't know whether he'll need it, whether he'll drain to the street and come down that way, or not. But I wanted to preserve that we have the ability that it's restored, and that we have the ability for us to say yes or no to where that location is, and have because if it comes down on the edge of the property, one or the other, that's not as big of a deal.
That's not a big issue.
Right.
But if he's trying to come down somewhere, maybe towards the north end of this property,
Right.
or whatever, it might impair what we're doing as far as the park is concerned.
And my concern was that's why I negotiated that piece in there. I wanted to make sure that if we're planning a pickleball court, that that easement doesn't come through where we're planning something else. We don't want him to build underneath what improvements we're going to make to the park, whatever that improvement is.
He's probably going to have a clean out somewhere along through it too. So yeah, we don't want that part of any of our development. I mean, it can exist in a grassy area, but we don't want it in a pickleball court.
Correct. Yep.
Right.
And that's why it's worded the way it is.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Looks like this other one to the south, just to the left of the little park there, looks like that has a drainage easement too that comes down through there, doesn't it?
This one here, this lot.
Yeah, that lot. I don't know what number it is.
Yeah, I don't know which number it is.
But it looks like it has a drainage easement that comes down, because that comes down. Well, it's cul-de-sac now, and I think it's probably already got a drainage easement down there.
It very likely does. I think at that point, that's probably a trail down to that park if we do it. It may not be of interest to us, but at that point, I think that the idea is that would be an access down. Some of these parks that we have, especially like something like this, because they're back behind people's properties, there's not a lot of public access.
Yeah.
If we were to acquire it, and we would need to have access. That's why I like the piece here, the 101, because it has
frontage.
On both sides.
Yeah.
And that frontage is a big one. We have some parks that don't have any frontage, and they're difficult to.
Motorcycle.
Sounded like
Like,
thunder.
anyway, so yeah. Any other questions?
You'd probably have to put stairs on that lot.
Possibly.
It's an exercise opportunity.
Huh?
It's an exercise opportunity.
For sure.
They have a trail coming out the other end, and it's somewhat steep in a few spots. So it might be a paved, steeper trail. Probably not a ADA sidewalk.
Unless you put in an elevator.
We'll put in a rope tow.
There's a lot of power there.
The red hashed area to well, I guess would be the north of lot 101.
Yes.
Is it relatively flat under the power line there? Is that where it is, under the power line?
It's under the power line.
Is it pretty flat?
Relatively flat. But it's not got frontage, and there is some
But it
difficulty
connects
to it.
what
But
we would already consider. So it kind of would already have frontage.
yes.
Yes, because it'd be attached to the power
Correct. It would be
Right.
attached to the other piece. Yeah.
There's actually 2 sets of power lines that run through that property.
Yes. That's correct. You can see those power lines kind of this teal color
I see.
through. Those are the power, and now it turns red when it gets down here. So those are the power lines through. So
Okay. So I'll entertain a motion.
I will make a motion if you pull up the agenda.
I just closed the agenda.
She's got it. I'll give it.
I'll make a motion that we purchase the park property from Providence Highlands LLC, item number 10.
Just as a clarity, that's purchasing
Lot 101. Lot
Is-
101.
is
With the
that-
option,
Is that also purchasing the options? That's the
with the
clarification.
option to purchase the other hashed pieces of property.
Pretty official. Hashed pieces. Okay, so we have a motion to purchase. Do we have a second?
I would like to second it, but can we add the grading in there, discussion, to go back to
And
you, Carrie?
let's add that the contingency that we are allowed to give feedback on grading. Is that feedback on grading?
Have input on grading. yeah.
Input on grading? Yeah, sure.
Okay, so restate your motion.
I make a motion that we purchase the park property from Providence Highlands LLC, item number 10, lot 101, with the option to purchase the other indicated lots and the contingency that we're allowed to give feedback on grading.
With that, I'll second it.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any additional feedback, questions?
I thank Ryan for going after every piece of property in Providence to try and purchase park property. It's been such a hard task, and I'm grateful for his willingness to work on it.
Well, we've had several pieces that we thought we could purchase and then they just kind of slip away. So
Yeah.
we appreciate that. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we come to the really important piece. Item number 11 is an appointment of new members of the Historic Preservation Commission. Providence City Council will review, discuss, and may take action on appointing new members to the city's Historic Preservation Commission. We have interviewed 2 potential members to add to our Historic Commission. And those those two members are Ken Thigpen, who is a longtime resident of the county, of the city, and Susan Baker. And so, Ken, if you would come up and.
Brent promises to be nice. And don't mention the word zoning. Can we go back too far?
Okay, state your name.
Ken Thigpen.
Anything you'd like to say?
No.
You're tongue-tied? Does that ever happen, Nicole?
I'm tongue-tied.
By the color of your hair, you'll make a great historian.
Yeah. It's not white anymore. It's celestial now.
It's celestial. There you go.
Oh.
So you each received a copy of his application that he filled out. His background is in construction, so he's been all through planning and zoning and all those kinds of things. So he understands land.
Used to jump through the hoops.
It's painful.
And we're proposing 2 members tonight. We still have 2 slots, but those 2 slots have to be, according to our code, have to be very specific members with some specific skills. So we'll be going out to see if we can find those. But these 2 members, we felt like they had a grasp of the community and willingness to serve. And so, anyway, any questions?
What does the code require?
It requires.
It is historian, archaeologist, architect. Kind of. I mean, it's more than it's specific different ones, but basically, yeah.
Those are required?
2 members.
2 members are required to have.
Shall have.
Can't fill any more spots.
Correct.
2 members shall have,
Until we find
when
it.
available in the community, we assume it's available, but it says, if it's as available in the community, it shall be appointed, 2 members shall be appointed to, with that background. And we have a 5-member with 2 alternates. So if we count that as 7, that if you appoint, you have 3, if you appoint 2, you get to 5, you have 2 left. That means you have to.
Our remaining 2 have to have those
Correct.
criteria. Okay.
If you appoint these.
As
if you,
per code.
If you let these ones go, then you find someone else. But I mean, that's what the code is saying.
Organization would have me as a member anyway.
Susan, do you want to just come up too? We're talking about you, so. No.
I make you stand a long time.
Susan Baker.
And Susan's background is she comes from a family that has done a lot of produced a lot of the history, the written history that we have, although our commission is tasked with physical property and preserving that in our city. So we had some great discussions in the interview about what we could include to let people know about the history of our beautiful town. So, questions?
I'm just always grateful when people are willing to serve.
Me too. We're looking forward to
and
having
I
you
love
work
Nicole,
outserved.
so she must come have a great dad.
What did you say? Oh, true. Very true. The apple stays close. Okay. So, since you don't have any questions and you guys don't have anything to say, unless you want to say something, Susan.
Well, I've appreciated being back in Providence. I grew up here. I came back later and have really enjoyed the city and the town, and I would like to contribute to the city.
That's wonderful. Yes, come up to the microphone, state your name. We all know who you are, but there are people online that might not.
George Wooten, and I am currently on the Historic Preservation Commission. Finding members to join the commission. It's been a little bit of a challenge,
Mhm.
and but in particular, these two folks here bring a great deal of breadth to the commission, and they both are willing to serve, which, as we know, is probably the most important characteristic of someone to join. But they also bring, again, some breadth. Ken comes with some history in town, and a great deal of experience in with his career in construction. And Susan comes with a strong history orientation to the town. She's got family members that have been involved in this, and I'm particularly happy to introduce these guys, even though we don't have that expertise. And I know it would be really helpful to have an architect, and it'd be really helpful to have people with that kind of expertise. But these folks bring some breadth that I think will serve the city, the commission, and the city in ways that I think the city will be really happy with. And so I mean, they're being very quiet here, and so I feel like I want to speak up in favor of the council approving them for reasons that they may not be saying, but that you will see soon. So.
In the interviews, we heard lots of enthusiasm for the subject, so we appreciated that. Okay, so if you don't have any further questions, you guys can sit down, and I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we appoint Ken Thigpen and Susan Baker to the historic committee.
Historic Preservation
Historic Preservation Committee. There we go.
Commission.
All good.
It's all good.
We're giving you grief.
Okay, so we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Phew, you guys made it.
Come teach us some stuff about Providence.
Yes, yes.
I
Okay.
need to read that big book, but I haven't yet.
It's got some really interesting things in it. So we don't have any study items, so we come to the staff reports, and Ryan.
I'll lead that. So I'd like to start with striping and chip seal as part of my initial report. We have put down striping in numerous areas. We've put down chip seal. Last year we had a difficulty with getting our contractor lined up for the striping. So you'll see that some of the lines, especially where we wanted the line to maintain, have kind of faded. Those areas where we wanted it to fade are still brightly there. So we are taking a approach of trying to stripe what we would have striped last year and what we intend to stripe this year all together. And so we'll have a bigger striping plan this year. We did some chip seal last year, but we had some left over in that budget, so we'll see some chip seal before the end of June, and we'll see some after. And we are hoping to maintain our roads. The best way to maintain those roads is to do preventive maintenance on top of them. So we have quite a few new roads and some that are experiencing some fatigue, and that's why we do chip seal. So I'm going to go through a few things and show you the magnitude of the chip seal so that we don't scare people. We will work with people. We do have a few recommendations. One, if you are on a chip seal road, make sure you drive the speed limit, the posted speed limit, or less, so that you don't get a rock chip. Having worked in chip seal work for the past 20 years, the 10 years prior to coming to the city, I worked in a construction company that did a lot of chip seal work, so I've seen hundreds of miles of chip done. And I will promise you the best way to avoid a rock chip is to drive the posted speed limit or below. Far the best way. Slow down, drive the speed limit, and you'll be fine. Speed, and you're guaranteed to either chip your own windshield or the guy behind you. Just a guarantee. So anyway, we have pre-chip striping. So we're going to stripe these roads prior to our chipping. That's our hope. The chip seal will be those in red, if you can see that. So they're not as bright, but they're there. And so we're doing quite a bit in all the different areas of town. Then we are going to post stripe. So you can see some more there and some additional striping. So you can see we're going to try and do a fairly good maintenance. We want to do this maintenance. We've waited because of the warranty on the fiber, and so we've waited on some of these. We'd like to cover up the bit of scar that we've made with the fiber project, and be able to really get ahead on our chip seal work, and be able to preserve these roads. So you can kind of see as I zoom in here, we have some on the north bench that we're covering, mostly in the north bench, middle bench here, and the downtown area, quite a bit of striping in there. Again, the red lines is chipping, so we're gonna be chipping up the central bench there, and then the south bench we're gonna have several different spots that we'll touch. So if we don't come to you this year, prepare for next year or the year after, because we really want to make sure that our roads are. I believe we're on track to have the best roads in the valley, and we'll do that through a very good maintenance program, and we'll put our money into this project. We have worked with our public information. She's aware of what this is. I think I sent this map out to the council, sent it out to sporadic ones in the public. But this is where we're headed with the different work that we're going to accomplish this year. So anyway, that is kind of where we're headed with it. While we work with a subcontractor, we won't know exactly where they'll be every day, because they'll complete at the pace they can complete and work on the next spot. So we'll try to give as much notice in the areas that they're working, but day to day will depend on the volume of oil and how far it makes in each day, and some of the additional constraints on the process, amount of labor we have, the availability of the chips, the oil. Anyway, so we don't have an exact date for every street, but we'll try to give out information as things come. So, but anyway, that's kind of what we're looking at as far as chipping and painting. So,
Do you put a sealant over the chips after they're down?
yeah. So we'll put a tack coat down underneath. We'll put the chips on top, and then a lot of people don't realize this, but we intend to leave the chips on top for a given period of time, so that people can drive on it, press it down, press it into that tack, and
You want us to zigzag around?
drive straight, but every time just move 6 inches to the north or 6 inches to the south. And we don't want you swirling around. We just want it straight lines. But yeah, if you can just
From the gutters, keep working
yeah,
that
just
way.
just keep moving it different directions. But we're trying to push that in, and then we sweep it, and once we've swept, then we'll come back and put a fog coat on top. That's what we call it, as a fog coat. It's less of a it's a watered down asphalt oil or a tack oil, because it really is a somewhat cosmetic. People like black roads. It is just naturally ingrained into us. It does help to seal it, but mostly the real sealing comes in the bottom layer.
No gold roads?
My little granddaughters would like pink.
Yeah. So, so we can get pink roads. I don't know how we can get gold roads, but it does cost us because we have to ship the rock. It's based on the color of the rock. This rock will be different. It will be a little bit darker rock that we are looking to get. It's out of the Pinsky pit.
Mount
Pisgah.
Yeah, Pisgah. So I think we're looking at that. It will be a darker rock, and I think we'll see people like it better. It's a little lighter, a little darker. But that county pit with as white as their rock is or gray as their rock is, people know it's been chip sealed because of the color. And we're hoping this other one has less of a look to that. So anyway, a lot of it.
We
some
want
of it can be-
satisfied customers.
Absolutely, absolutely. But we actually want great quality roads. But to answer that, it's really the first layer that goes in. We'll put a crack seal below that, but anyway.
So if you put down your tack strip or tack layer,
Yep.
put your chips on top of it.
Yep.
There's always extra chips. Can you reuse those chips?
No. Because the chipping process is a clean process and it tries to avoid the dust in it, the sand and the dust that's there will contaminate those chips. That would have to go back through a
Cleaning
process,
process.
cleaning, a washing process, and generally you don't do that.
What do we do with that when we gather it up?
Yeah, we could store it. We could use it as bedding for material. We use it. We've stockpiled it. We use that. We try to work with them to reduce that as much as possible, but we do pick that up with our sweeper, and we do have uses for that. Lots of times we bed things with it, like large pipe we'll bed with it, or other things we can use that. So we'll use through material like that. It's not wasted, but to run it back through and chip with it again isn't generally possible. So not without a lot of work. So.
Well, I can see I can get out of town without driving on a chip seal road, so I'm probably okay.
You're probably fine.
Yeah. I'll have to make sure my whole family knows the process to get out of town.
Actually, you'll need to detour to drive on those roads and get the rocks
So that we
down.
can get them
Yeah.
crushed. We can get them
You got to do your part of
Oh.
mashing them
on
down.
but drive at or below the posted speed limit.
Both the Mustang and the truck have broken windshields. They're not going to get replaced before we get done. I'll just leave it at that. And the Jeep will stay in the garage.
Anyway, the lift station, we have got the lift station mostly put in. We're working with the electrician to put that in. We are working with our contractor. We had another contractor that kind of slowed it down. It wasn't ours, but slowed. So we're a little bit behind schedule for that, but we're trying to make up that time and be operational. Hopefully, 1st to mid-July is kind of our hope for that. Blackstone will come online, would be the first one to use that. And so we're hoping to have them. They're slightly delayed, and so we're hoping to be able to coordinate efforts there. So the lift station's going well. Another one I'd like to update you on. A few of them have already updated on some of the other meetings we've had, and a lot of my job is meetings, and but another one is the potential UDOT river trail on the west side of the highway. And the state has allocated $4 million to this project. They are looking to make sure that somebody maintains it. We're generally fine to maintain what's inside of our city. Nibley is fine with maintaining what's inside of their city. Millville doesn't feel like they have the resources to maintain some of that in between. I've got a meeting with them to see what we can work out to figure out I'm hoping to meet with Nibley and Millville and ourselves and be able to see what we can figure out, how we can maintain that. Because that trail could be really nice. It would take it from the Logan River Trail all the way into the high school there. So, and it doesn't cost us anything for the trail being built. Won't cost us anything for the ownership of the right of way. As far as the city, UDOT will acquire that, build the road. It's just about maintenance. So we're looking to see how we can make that happen. So anyway,
Does that go along the Blacksmith Fork River through Joe
goes
Furman's
along the Blacksmith Fork
area?
River. Yeah,
Not Joe Furman.
doesn't. Yeah, it'll go along the highway
Connection point.
in front of Furman's. It'll go along the highway. So it'll,
Because we paid for that land with
we,
Cache County money?
yeah.
Okay.
We as city money didn't, but we as county residents, yes, we bought that. So, anyway, anyway, I appreciate it, and I'd like to thank everyone that meets with me. Sometimes I wonder how the public interacts that, but so from a public side, so those that are listening, keep in mind these are my 6 bosses, and as your employee, I try to meet with you regularly, one, to get feedback so that I am in line with your direction and can give feedback on items. So as my report, I try to report back, and in between meetings, try to at least give some time so that I can make sure that I'm always aligned with your interests and desires, and answer any questions so that you are aware of what's happening. But anyway, I just like to make sure the public is aware of some of that. Some of that comes out of, you met with me, but some of that's because you're my boss, and all bosses generally meet with their subordinates on a semi-regular basis, and I want to continue meeting with you and helping you. And as people run for office, I hope to meet with them and open up that to anybody that's running. I'm happy to meet with them on a regular basis, because eventually they may be my boss, and I want to be on the same page. So anyway, if I can answer any other questions about the city or what's happening, I'm happy to do so. So if not, Ty, do you have any extra one? Okay. Scarlett, do you have anything
Thanks
to add?
for all you do. I'll give you a compliment, not a question.
Thank you. Scarlett, do you have anything to add you'd like to report on?
Just letting you know that we're winding down recreation, and it's getting to that time of year when we give all of the athletic fields a rest, the soccer fields, the baseball fields. There will be some games played during July on some of the fields, but for the most part, if somebody complains, we do shut the fields down for the month of July to give them a rest. So, and to do maintenance on them. But other than that, thank you for approving the budget so that we can do our jobs for another year. I appreciate that. I'm sure the rest of the staff does too. Anyway, thank you.
It would definitely be an awkward conversation going back if we didn't have an approved budget, but thank you for approving the budget.
And Ty,
Absolutely.
you didn't have anything to report?
I guess other than we will be having a primary for our elections. We did have enough candidates who applied for our 2 council seats that we will be having a primary. So I just approved the ballot this week. Again, we've contracted with the county, so they'll kind of take that part of it. I don't have an official date when those ballots will get mailed out, but obviously it'll be before August 5th for that primary, and then we'll move on to the general in November.
Okay. Thank you.
I had one more little comment, Ryan. I see out on our property that we bought south of Baker's up on the hill, they've been trimming zones on their property where it escapes. They cut back the vegetation for fire break. I'm wondering if we ought to look at that hill and do as much as we can with that hill for a fire break up there to keep that. I don't know if you want to deal with the perimeter or if you want to do the whole thing, but we need to, I think we want to be as proactive as we can as the grass dries out to be able to take care of our property.
Yeah.
That has.
I think I would like to get approval for a couple of goats I think putting some goats up there would be nice, but I'll see what we can do on that one.
They should have been there earlier.
I've been looking for goats that will only eat weeds, but they want to come down in my yard.
Oh, if I
and
find
eat
those
my
in the
flowers.
process, I'll
But
let
if you
you
come
know.
across any, I'll take them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I got a daughter.
Deer would be good if we could
I
train
got
them.
a daughter raising goats, so we'll see how that works out. But yeah, we'll see what we can do there. So
Okay. So we don't have an executive session, or I'll entertain a motion to adjourn at 8:45.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, we have a motion.
I'll second.
Have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I do.